back to the reading.
Yeah, let's, you want to set up your scene?
Sure.
Is it from Caught in a Web?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What I'm going to read is, it's really a short chapter. It's chapter 4 in Caught in a Web. And one of the main characters, Detective Jamie Groff. All my stories, for the most part, take place in Wisconsin, in Waukesha, which is a place where I consider to be home because it was kind of a very fun time in my life. I spent 5 years there as a social psychology teacher, and head basketball coach there. And it just,
What?
to me, yeah, I was a former
Brother.
head basketball coach, high school and college, not college.
You might
head
know
coach.
his brother. His
Yeah.
brother is in Waukesha, and he was
a band teacher.
band teacher.
What's his name?
Brian
Carter.
No, I don't know that name, because I left in mid '80s, and that's when I went out to California. So
Okay.
no,
okay.
that name was probably came after me.
Yeah.
But at any rate, this character is a cop, a detective, and he was pulled out of bed because there was another missing kid, another deceased kid, found behind a store in an alley. And so he rolls up in his squad car. It says, Groff drove around to the back of a strip mall, spotted flashing blue lights mixed with red flashing reds, and a small huddle of cops and little clouds of breath coming out of their mouths as they spoke to one another. They stood around stamping their feet to keep them from freezing and turning into cement blocks. He rolled to a stop just outside the yellow tape and decided to leave his squad car running to keep it warm. He grabbed his traveler cup of hot coffee and got out, shutting the door behind him with a metallic thunk that didn't echo in the dark night. It was that cold. He spotted the ME, turned up his collar with his free hand, and hunched his shoulders as he walked in that direction. Ike, he said with a nod. Mike Eisenhower, whom everyone called Ike, was in his 60s and bald except for a fringe of snow-white hair that ran around the sides and back of his head like a misplaced halo. He was short and a little stooped, but his mind was clear and sharp. I will never understand the attraction, Jamie. I don't get it. What do we have? The older man shook his head and said, a middle school kid, maybe 11 or 12, on his back, head to the side in a puddle of frozen puke, with snot frozen on his face. That's what we have. What the hell is the attraction of drugs when it ends like this? Cause of death? Groff caught the old man's frown and corrected himself. Tentative cause of death? OD some sort, I'm not sure what though. Time of death? The old man shrugged and said, the kid is frozen stiff. I'd say 4 or 5 hours ago at the least. But because this is so damn cold, I can't pinpoint it for you until I get back to the office. Do you have a guess as to what drug it was? He shook his head and said, I'll do a tox screen and be able to tell you for sure. Eisenhower's office was in the basement of Waukesha Memorial Hospital, a 5 or 10 minute drive away. Groff squatted down next to the boy, blonde, skinny, wearing only a hooded sweatshirt, no hat, no gloves, no boots, a pair of Jordans on his feet, his upper lip and cheek coated in icy snot. The pavement under his head was frosted in yellowish or brownish puke, depending upon how the light hit it. The boy's eyes and mouth were partially open. A lovely picture of another dead kid added to the collection of dead kid pictures Jamie had stored away in his head. Not that he wanted to hold onto any of them, ever. No fucking way. Thanks, Ike. You have my number, Groff said as he strolled toward the huddle of cops. He recognized most of them and said, guys, anyone catch any radio chatter on missing kids? Kids who didn't show up after dinner, who might have snuck out at night? They stamped their feet and shook their heads and muttered no. Okay, I need all the dumpsters checked for anything that might fit the crime. Look for anything out of the ordinary, anything that doesn't quite fit. I'll need pictures of boots and shoe marks and any tire treads. Again, look on the ground for anything that might fit with the crime, anything out of the ordinary. Later this morning, I'll need some of you to canvass the neighborhoods in the 3 or 4 block radius. Ike said the kid might be a middle school kid, 11 or 12 years old. I'm guessing unless this is a dump site, he'd live close by because he isn't exactly dressed for a long hike, not in this weather anyway. As he walked away, he said, whoever decides to canvass the neighborhood can go home. Start at 8 in the morning. That'll give you a couple of hours of sleep. Jamie poured the coffee out of his traveler cup onto the frozen pavement, no longer thirsty and sure as hell not hungry.
Wow. That's rough. That must be difficult to write.
Yes, it is. But having seen things like that, the pictures don't leave the head. When Groff said that, another dead kid with the collection of kids in his head, that was very personal to me because of with my background as a counselor and as a principal, things that I've seen.